And we are here trying to do a sizzle reel excerpt or two or three for the Firesign Theater documentary. And this disembodied voice is Adele Abrams for whoever might be doing credits at some point. And please identify yourselves, mystery guests.
All right, I'm Phil Proctor.
And I'm David Osmond.
We've been partners for over almost 60 years.
60 years this year. 60 years, yeah.
And David will be turning 90 in December, and I'm turning 86 in next month. And we're still here.
Yeah, and no comedy team has ever lasted this long before.
At least sitting at a kitchen table.
And I have to explain to all the people, this is a difficult time for me to be doing this because I'm missing a tooth. And so
Did Phil hit you?
Yeah, well, not for years.
Is it your wisdom tooth, David?
No, I still have. They never came in.
They did?
No.
Oh, well, that
Never
explains
had
a
'em.
lot about you.
Gosh, it sure does.
Oh.
Yeah. Anyway, so it's just a mess mouth, and but just excuse it. The replacement.
Excuse reality, ladies and
Grow the
gentlemen.
mustache longer.
Yeah, I can do that. Comb it right down in front of it.
that'll do it.
That's Barry Fitzgerald, and it's got kind of
You're the old walrus.
Yeah, the old walrus.
The old walrus.
Yeah.
Cuckoo can chew.
You know, we thought we were
right.
we thought we were so old when we were all playing old.
We did. We played
God.
old men from the very beginning.
Yeah. I was doing pops from the tops, so to speak. You know. Wow, it was a long. So, what were you going to ask me here?
Well, you said that you've been in collaborative partnerships for decades. You didn't actually say what that partnership was.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, he's very talented as a voice actor, and Judith and I have hired him on a number of occasions. As a matter of fact, he played Toto. There he is. He can do it again for you. He played. Let's see. And how else do we know you, Phil?
Well, through the Frankenstein Theater.
Oh, the four body parts. The
That's
do
right,
comedy.
yeah,
Yeah,
do
I
comedy.
remember that. Yeah, two
Yeah.
legs, one arm, and a head.
That's right.
That was it.
And it's not the Fireside Theater.
No, it's
No,
not the
not the
Fireside.
It is.
No.
Although the Firesign Theater, so named because of our astrological nomenclatures. I'm a Leo, Dave's a Sagittarian, the late Peter Bergman was a Sag, and the later Phil Austin was unfortunately an Aries.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, but we put up with him anyway. And we met on Radio Free Oz. Well, look, the point of this all is that if you're going to watch our documentary, you'll learn the real story of our origins.
Oh, and
Or something like it.
Yeah, because we go back to the beginning of time as far as I think most people are concerned, since our careers together started in 1966, and we had been working since we were born in show business. So that goes back a few years, 30 years. I was 30 years old. Don't trust anybody 30, right? I was 30 years old when the Firestone Theater started. And I was not to be trusted,
No.
The boys.
You're still not to be trusted.
No, absolutely not.
Thank God you haven't changed a bit.
No, I'm the only sane guy. That was the thing. What saved me in the Fireside Theater is because I was really the only sane one there. Phil, Phil, obviously crazy.
I'm proud of it.
And proud of it, and happy to go with it.
Served me very well
Right.
most of my career.
Yeah.
But you ran for president
Oh.
as not insane.
That's right, and it was. I have to credit Phil with coming up with that line in a completely different context. But you say things like that around the Firestone Theater, and they're going to turn around and say, "We own it. Thank you. Not insane. Okay, copyright Firestone Theater. We'll take it right out of your mouth." Because it was funny. And
Yes.
It was actually a letter. Do you remember the letter? Because it
That I
was
read?
signed Not Insane.
Oh, yeah.
And then by a funny name.
Yeah, but I
And
love
it was
funny
Raccoon
names.
for president.
No, I know. It was,
No,
it
no,
was
no, this was
completely
before that.
incidental to that.
I'd written a solo piece. Dear Nabby, was that the one that started
No,
with Dear Nabby?
no, something
I used to
else.
like to write funny.
Dr. Astro. maybe.
Dr. Astro, I used to
Could be.
like to write funny letters from different eras of history. And I remember this one I signed it Not Insane, Mickle Johnny Mouse or something.
Whoever the name was.
Whatever the name was. And it caught on. And so when we decided to run a presidential candidate, George Papoon, a name we found amusing, I guess. And
I think you came up with that as well.
maybe I did.
I think you did.
I did. And the motto was Not Insane, Not Responsible.
And that's something that Peter Bergman, who when he was a chap in high school, I guess, he and
Cleveland.
He in Cleveland, right? He and his buddy parked cars in an empty lot. They took $5 from everybody and said, "Park and lock it, not responsible. Park and lock it, not responsible." Which we that's kind of a slogan.
Yeah, we felt in a way that was our philosophy of art.
Yeah.
Not
Park and lock it,
responsible for-
not responsible.
Whatever the results of our comedy was, is beyond, is out of our hands.
Yeah, we kind of had to get out of the
Out
way
of our
it.
heads to out of our hands. And
As easily as that.
let it happen.
Yeah, we had to get out of the way of our comedy after a while because it was, we were on the road in, imagine, 1970, on the road in 70. I mean, it was a classic time in rock history and all, everybody was blooming at that moment.
It was
And we were
just beginning.
Yeah. And that was our third album in 1970. Don't Crush That Dwarf, Hand Me the Pliers. And by that time, enough people found us really funny and somehow helped them with their lives.
Yeah.
Whether they were in Vietnam, we got endless reports from people who, oh, God, you got me through the war, you got me through college, you got me through high school. And I think that was, and I attribute this quote to who said it first. I think it was, who said it? Was it you or me?
What's the quote?
Everything you know is wrong. That was Austin.
That was
Right.
Austin, yeah.
And so those kinds of lines come forth. Peter said, we were standing backstage at the Hilltop Theater in Tahunga, California, behind God's Back. And we were playing there as a double bill. And we were playing
In a movie theater.
In a movie theater, right? And we were changing into our costumes in the barber shop next door.
down the
This
street.
is not 1933, ladies and gentlemen. This is 1968.
That's right.
So we went on, and the movie. What was the movie?
Fahrenheit 451.
Yep. Fair. And we're standing behind it. And here's the movie going on the screen in front of us, backward. And the sound boxes are behind us, and we're waiting to go on. And so we get out of this. We're in the vom to enter the stage, and Peter looks to me and says, "I think we should call our next album. How could you be in two places at once when you weren't anywhere at all?"
That's right. He do things
Yeah.
like that.
And I said, "Hey, Pete, it's too long. Oh, we're on."
And by the way, the Marquis said on the other side, next week, the Marquis Chimps.
Yeah. They had left television and were playing vaudeville. The last, can you imagine? I mean, there's a place to start. You start every place. So that was the seventh show I did well. It was my start in whatever it was. This was the last vaudeville shows anywhere. I mean, playing with the
Marquis
Chimps.
Chimps.
I mean, what kind of crazy? So and the movie, the Chimps, and next week another
were-
movie and more Chimps. I
Right,
don't
but
know.
we were doing, psychedelic comedy, and which was a form of crazy vaudeville in many ways. And what we found that we had in common was a love of old time radio and a love of variety, because our work always included some musical elements to it, a lot of also poetry. We embraced the beatnik generation as well.
Our first album,
Waiting for the electrician.
Waiting for
was
the
Summer
electrician.
Blackened.
Practically begins with a quote from Allen Ginsberg. I mean, we were right on at the beginning when we started, because we read a lot and we were interested, and and there were four of us, so we could bring stuff in. Have you read this? No, man, read it. Oh yeah, I got that. Let's talk about it on the show next week. It would be like that, and that kind of on top of the news energy, if you like, affected what we were doing in this kind of old time referential thing. We would bring what's happening. Well, they killed all those kids at that college back east. Oh my gosh. So suddenly the high school disappears.
In one of our records.
In the record that we were currently writing at that moment. So it was a combination of those right on the moment energies. People could recognize
we
what
were
we were
informed
talking
of
about.
what was happening around us.
Yeah.
And we responded to it, but we also were futurists in that we would predict where this would lead us.
Yeah.
And you were very prescient. When you listen to the Firesign Theater albums today, you really have to remind yourself that you were writing and improvising
Back in
this
the 70s.
information in the 60s and 70s
yeah.
before everybody had a computer. And you really
we
predicted
predicted the computer revolution in our fourth album. I think we're all bozos on this bus. And what really blew my mind was that I did a lot of voices for Pixar and Disney, and David also was in A Bug's Life, playing a major role, opposite Hermione King. No, opposite
Phyllis Dillard.
Phyllis Dillard.
Opposite Phyllis Dillard,
That's
right,
She
of course.
was the Queen's right-hand man.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think this is where it happened. We had a cast and crew screening up in San Francisco or something at the Pixar, at City Hall or something, big deal. And at one point, Steve Jobs had just bought into the company to help with the computerized animation. And I met him, and he said, I'm a big fan. And he was tall guy. And I said, oh, it's wonderful, glad to know it. Then later, when we were putting our archives together, which were purchased by the Library of Congress, our archivist, Taylor Jessen, found a sheet that had a contact sheet, pictures of a record signing we did up in Berkeley. And there were this one picture of the four of us with this big guy behind us with his long arms and accompanies all of us. And he had a long black hair, black goatee, black mustache. It was Steve Jobs. He really was a fan. And to prove his fandom, for many years, if you had an iPhone, you could say to Siri, "This is Worker speaking, hello," and she would say back to you, "Hello, Clem, what service can I perform for you? LOL." Those were lines from I Think We're All Bozos on This Bus, where Clem, was playing the part of a hacker who planted a virus in a mainframe computer of this Disneyland-like government theme park, and I brought everything down. The illusion disappeared.
and this was before
71.
anybody really had computers
Yeah.
other than the government and some big companies like
Well,
IBM.
certainly not at home.
I think
they were not at home, but nobody was thinking about hackers then.
No, I
So-
think this. What happened was really comparable, not to computer hacking, but to poisoning the reflecting pool in the Capitol. Yeah, can't you see the similarity?
Yes.
I mean, they're doing. Here's the big theme park of Washington
Very
D.C.
deep, man.
You know,
Very deep.
big thing. They got. Yeah, I mean, I think it's very equivalent. So, and everybody thinks we're equivalent to something. We just
We threw so many references in to so many things that were going on in the society and in art and literature and history that as people could get latch on to different things that they heard that they say, "Oh, I know what that is." And, while somebody else next door to them is going like, well, I don't know, what was that? Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. True,
And
true,
people
true.
would listen to the records over and over again to hear different comic points. Really.
Now let me raise something. I was
Money?
turned on to Firesign Theater probably in 1971. I was, a young kid at college, away from home for the first time, listening to them in the dorms, And I also hung around with people from the college radio station, which I was soon to start working at, and came on the air in 72. And we would, imbibe substances and we would listen to Firesign Theater over and over and over and over again.
Overdosing on
And
Fireside
then
Theater.
we would play cuts of it as DJs on the college radio station, which at that time was only closed-circuited to the buildings on campus.
That's right.
And rumor had it was being transmitted through the radiators in the room.
Yes, that's very possible.
When I was hired as a professional DJ in 1974 after college on WHFS, I learned later on that Firesign Theater got our station its first complaint to the Federal Communications Commission, or FCC.
Oh.
And we have talked about this. I'm laying a little foundation here, but we've talked about this before, that your records were not intended really for a radio audience
Not for
at the
airplay.
time. So talk about that a little bit.
Well, since we were a record being distributed and actually funded by Columbia Records, thank you, Clive Davis, that kept us going for 9 years. We could do in the studio and record anything we wanted to. However, of course, we were gentlemen and weren't going to do, stand-up funky comedy. We were going to do.
Oh, fuck you!
Yeah.
We also did things like that.
Well, I'm leading to that,
Oh,
Philip.
okay.
Because here's what happened. There's nothing in the first album or the second. Well, you can't. You can play Nick Danger, but you can't possibly play the other side of the album. Couldn't play it after 1973 because it is full of bad words. Ho, ho, ho. Everybody knew that. Your DJs, all the DJs knew that. Okay, Dwarf comes out. And this guy did just what he did just now. Said, fuck you!
It was me? I thought it was Austin.
He kept banging the drum
Oh, yeah.
while you were trying to do.
The characters Pico
Yeah.
and Alvarado, two troublemakers.
Yeah,
Right.
and so they're spontaneous. I mean, there's a lot of Dwarf as I've listened to it over and over now with this kind of animated version. It's really very funny, and those characters, those Pico and Alvarado characters, I said, make these are just make them LA guys, not gangster guys, just guys,
Just guys. Yeah.
And so much of that
guys.
scene,
Heckling
you're
the-
a white guy.
Heckling the principal of the school.
Yeah, but when
Principal
you're going
Pooh.
back and forth, you can't get your line out, and Austin is on top of it, and you're laughing. It's all from the recording that we made, and that was the last album that we recorded in and edited the tape, 16 track by that time. So 3-inch tape or 2-inch tape, I guess is what it is. And the next album, Phil Austin said, we're going to do this and roll back. And so every scene that we did, we did. If we didn't like it, we'd roll back, and then we do the scene again. So there are no outtakes because we erased every one of them and rolled it. That's why that album has that.
Which
kind
album
of
is this?
For Bozos.
Bozos. Yeah.
Bozos. You're on the
Right.
rubber line.
That's
It
right.
keeps moving.
Yeah.
It's about moving. Dwarf is about consumption. It's about eating. It's an album
Consumerism.
about, yeah, it's an album about
As a
consumerism.
religion.
Yeah.
Now speaking of religions, there's a little bit, I would say, that was kind of the cult of Nick Danger. And I'll say that I, was a member of that, in that we listened to it so much, we really not only had memorized pretty much verbatim the routine, but catchphrases from that continue to be used as part of day-to-day dialogue. among a certain generational group, I would say.
Cult.
And, it's like you throw a line out and either they respond to it or it goes right over their head. And, one of my favorites, you can sit here in the waiting room or you can wait here in the sitting room. Roll a couple of bummers and leave them on the side table. If you have the key, no, only half a key. I had to split it with the sound man.
That's right.
I will say when I first, officially really met Phil and we became friends, I was mortified because I found that Nick Danger-isms were so ingrained in my vocabulary. I was throwing these out to the guy that maybe wrote them and not even realizing that they came from there. And I see other people.
You thought you owned our material, did you?
I did. And my question really
That's what happens
is,
when you put it in their head.
what was it about a 30s, 40s radio show parody, homage, that you think really connected with, my generation of people in 1970, who were maybe 18 years old at the time and had never experienced the original radio shows that you were paying homage to?
No, but they experienced this one, which was exactly like those, except with the sound effects man. Except Tiger Biter refuses to stick to the script. Everybody else, however absurd it is, Third Eye. What is he talking
Nick
about?
Danger, Third Eye, America's Only Detective.
Yeah. So, and Tiger Biter, the actor, this is how I worked it all out playing that part.
We all did that.
He's resistant to the flow of the show. Something's going on. He's unhappy with it. So he's willing to light your script on fire.
Okay, but let me answer a couple of questions.
Yeah, go back.
Number one, everybody knew the movies, the hard sell detective Raymond Chandler movies. They call it the
noir,
the noir genre. Okay, so this thing had a footing in a reality or a style that people were familiar with, as opposed to our other albums, which were in some other crazy world that we had created, and therefore they could latch on to the parody we were doing. But also, as David was saying, the backstory was that we were all actors doing it live on the radio back in the 40s, and we had problems. One of our actors was drunk. Bottles was her name, or at least her nickname, and therefore I had to take over as the part with pretending to be a girl because it's the radio. Who would know the difference?
Show goes on.
Show must go on. And those are the things that we knew.
Then he has to play another part.
Rocky
So I have to come in and play Bottles.
That's right.
You remember? I mean,
And at one point of that,
Nancy.
Nancy. At one point, every character was played by each one of us.
Yeah.
Because there was a flashback series that took place in a time machine and everything. But yes, that was all part of the in-joke, really. I think that's what added the level of surrealism.
So Phil, you were Rocky Rococo.
Yes, I was.
Yeah.
I am.
And one of the things that, I think people who were listening to Firesign Theater, we thought you all were just a bunch of hippies like we were, not realizing that you were a Yaley, that Peter Bergman was a Yaley.
With me, that's
that
right.
you spoke multiple languages, including Russian. And, how did that impact you creating the character of Rocky Rococo?
Well, Rocky Rococo was a direct parody of Peter Lorre in the Maltese Falcon. In the, what's it called? The Black Falcon.
Yeah, the Maltese Falcon.
Yeah.
Oh, the Maltese Falcon.
Yeah.
Well, we've made a joke, the Maltese, the malted falcon.
Chocolate malted
Chocolate
Falcon.
malted falcon. That's what it was.
Yeah, the chocolate malted Falcon.
That's why I was stumbling over it. I was going, wait a minute, that's how we call it.
The gags that it goes a couple of different places that are really strange. Not only the breaking the fourth wall, but there are 30 references to the Beatles, the song.
Cuckoo-ca-choo.
all of those. Rocky Rococo is Rocky Raccoon.
That's right.
Everybody knew her as Nancy. Nancy.
Nancy.
I mean, the quotes are really, there are
Yeah, it was
25
an
or
homage
30
to the
quotes
Beatles
there.
in many ways. That's
At
right.
the same time as being essentially lifted from the Maltese Falcon, which, quote, everybody, end quote, knows or knew.
Right.
So those two, as you say, solid references. The 1950 radio program was just like decoration. It was like a Mel Brooks format on
Yeah,
top of that.
yeah.
You make a Western, but let's have a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah.
You know.
And let's make it surreal.
Yeah.
And, and what you're talking about with the languages, I'm a dialectician. So, of course, I'd be affected to Peter Lorre with that strange accent of his, And yes, and we use languages, but we played with the English language predominantly. And we were inspired by the Beatles. And they were, in a sense, inspired by us, because I know they knew our work. And being able to do a variety of records that were influenced by the influences of the time is what I think gave us the impetus to keep creating, because there was always other strange things happening. In the Bozos, we break the president. We basically destroy Nixon.
It's your fault.
Yes.
Well,
Or not fault, it's our
it's our bound and duty. It's our mission, right? If
And
you
now
accept this
we have
mission.
revisionist history saying Nixon wasn't so bad and it would be a 12-hour news story.
Yeah, I heard.
And
I read that.
I think
we
need a serious question here. I think we need Firesign to help guide us through the shark-infested waters of
no, that's
American
algae.
politics
Yes, please.
and
That's just-
maybe
it's just-
What's
it's
it
just
all about,
green stuff.
algae?
We've been look.
But
here's the thing.
But why? Here's my question.
Okay.
Why should young people today find Firesign relevant? What are the messages from the Firesign albums that you created that really should resonate with
The
young
modern
people
audience.
today and maybe serve as kind of a wake-up call? Open-ended question.
Okay, well,
Essay exam.
all right.
Go ahead.
The major theme of the Firesign Theater is you are responsible for your own life. Period. That's the message of all the records. You are going to make decisions that are going to influence your life, and you're being influenced constantly by media and by politicians and by false leaders and by distractions of society and sex and everything. And you have to somehow make your way through that. How do you do it? You do it by trying to remain as clear and as sharp, in your goal as you possibly can, and make decisions in your life that are healthy for you. That to me is what the philosophy of Fireside Theater was. And to me, it's a through line in all the records. And our characters seem to embody that.
I think in many ways that is true. There are people like comedy records. They did right from the very beginning. The bottom fell out of even of stand-up records. We never had. No one else had a moment like Firesign Theater to do comedy records. There were two other groups who tried it. They couldn't get. You couldn't get in there.
Credibility gap?
Well, yeah, Credibility Gap, a couple of
Dutchman
albums.
Theater.
They were really homegrown, very homegrown feeling, which was great.
Yeah.
We were studio. We came out of the studio.
That's true.
And it was much more, much more rock and roll, and
And we had so many
less.
production values.
Yeah. What they affected at the time was not only a consciousness that we've been talking about of the moment, but also for a lot of people the sound of those albums from the very first inspired people to want to go into the radio business and the technical back mixer producer business. And really a lot of people moved from Firesign and said, well, I want to do that. Well, they couldn't do that yet because there was no technology to do that, but there is now, of course. And so, because that technology exists now, it seems to me that the opposite of a 22-second clip of somebody doing something is quite easily replaceable by a 58-minute recording of really good actors presenting a great story that everybody ought to listen to.
Supported by sound effects and music and things like that.
And everything.
And David speaks from a very recent experience because he and his wife Judith helped to produce a piece that was written and directed by their son Orson called Treasure Island, a telling for the
New World. Because it takes place in the New World. And Phil, of course, plays a couple of parts.
And David plays a couple of parts.
Yep.
And along with John Goodman and what other wonderful actors?
Keith David.
Glenn Turman.
And Glenn Turman.
And
a local cast of really good actors.
And it's an 8-hour, 1-hour
music
series. What?
And music by Taj Mahal.
And music by Taj Mahal, of course.
Music by Taj Mahal.
When we played Taj, we've known since we first played the Ash Grove.
Taj used to open for us at the Ash Grove back in the 60s.
It would be 1968.
68,
because that was the year that our first albums came out.
Imagine
Taj's and ours came out at the same time.
Yeah, and we used to perform our material in front of a live audience, kind of try it out, you know.
And the Ash Grove had a stage about the size of this dining table.
Yeah.
And so we said, well, gee, we don't want a band that has to take all their instruments down and put them back up because we're going to use the stage. So just a solo act, okay? And so we got Charlie Hooker and all these great old blues guys and Taj. And I mean, all of that was perfect. And we had a little set that was like a screen that sort of had a door and sort of had a window.
That's right.
And we opened with we didn't do any of our albums. We were so really stupid because we never did the albums as well as we should have done them. We should have done them on stage. We should have done them as movies. Wrong direction.
But I think that's what this documentary is about.
Is about directions and wrong directions.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but it's
maybe
also
so.
it's also about we created an art form in the long form comedy album.
Yep.
And the gift was given to us by a suit named John McClure at Columbia Records, who after our first record, where they were going to drop us because, well, who are these guys? He said, no, these guys are geniuses. We've got to keep them on the label. And he was the head of the spoken arts division. So he gave us a special deal. In exchange for a reduced royalty, what? He let us...
No, it wasn't reduced royalty. We got the same cheesy royalty that everybody
we
else
got a cheesy
really cheesy royalty. What they did
was they allowed us to go into the studio whenever it was free to record. That meant that we were given this unique opportunity to write a record, go into the studio, lay down some of it, be informed by it, change it, improvise it, say, okay, this is it, we got this part of the record, and then go and write it. I mean, what an incredible opportunity. So even though we weren't doing theater, we weren't doing movies, we were doing something nobody else was doing.
It's absolutely true.
And nobody has done since, really.
Would it be fair to say it was rock and roll comedy?
Absolutely. They advertised us as the only rock and roll band that doesn't need music. We were also called the Beatles of comedy and the Jesters of the Rock Generation. We were featured on the cover of a magazine at the time as the Jesters of the Rock Generation.
That's right.
But you did have music.
We always had,
embedded.
we always had music.
Who were some of the musicians who played with you?
Glenn Campbell played with us on the first album.
That's right.
Because the Wrecking Crew was hired by Jimmy Guercio to add music to Waiting for the Electrician or Someone Like It.
And the music cues are way too long. I just like to say that.
But it's
way
good.
Too long.
It's
but,
good
but they're good.
It's good.
And who else played with you?
Oh
Well,
on the
Did you say
we
Skunk
did
Baxter?
we did it. we
wait a
did
minute.
it all on the second album. It was David
Grimm. David Grimm, who played the organ.
David Grimm. And David Grimm did. He played the organ and he played all the stuff for us. He was going to be part of the group, really. And
He did everything for Nick Danger.
yeah, did all of Nick Danger. It was fabulous. And
He died young.
He died at 30 years old. And it was a great loss. And it happened at the same time as we lost the guy who was going to be our producer and produce our next movie.
Our first movie, really.
Our first. It would have
We'd
been our
done some
first.
short films.
And that was, well, he was known as Wacko, Jerry Bryan.
Jerry Bryan.
And,
Who drowned in a
yeah.
riptide in Hawaii.
Also 30. So that's
Double
like a
blow.
real breaking point in our career. Because we were going to do this movie ourselves. We'd done Zachariah. And we were going to
We've
do
written
the
a movie
next
called
thing.
Zachariah,
Yeah,
which
well,
is
sort of written it.
we sort of wrote
All the
it.
gags are ours.
Yeah, and stars John Rubinstein and
Don Johnson.
Don Johnson.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was, and I love. It's a funny movie.
It is.
And that was a psychedelic western.
It's a psychedelic anti-war western.
Yeah, and the first rock western they called it.
Yeah, that
Country
too.
Joe and the Fish were in that
Yeah,
movie.
yeah.
And who was the fiddler? And the drummer,
Ooh, the fiddler,
Doug
Doug
Hershaw.
Yeah, Doug Hershaw.
Doug Hershaw.
Kershaw.
Yeah.
Kershaw.
Now, you also had the Starland Vocal Band involved with
That was a
Procter and Bergman.
That was a
Procter and
Procter and
Bergman that
Bergman
they
show.
backed up.
But when we did Fighting Clowns, Skunk Baxter did his fuzz bass for us.
Well, yeah, it's
One of the many lead guitarists with Steely Dan.
yeah. No, he
And a member of the CIA, too.
Yeah, a dangerous man. I always felt a dangerous
Skunk,
man,
yeah.
but he could sure
Skunk
play
works.
that guitar.
He could.
And Phil Austin, he was a
Phil-
musician.
Phil
as well.
Austin was really the musical impetus for many of our works because he played the guitar and he sang. And in the album, his solo album called Roller Maidens from Outer Space, his musical chops are very evident. And in the album that you two guys fostered together, In the Next World You're on Your Own, he also
Yeah, his
added musical
Yeah,
elements.
it's. I mean, we all did that as much as we could do together. I remember sitting at a writing session and saying, "We have to have a song." Our last album, I said, "We have to have a song." Everybody is like very stiff on our last album.
Which last album?
The last album.
Oh, for Rhino Records?
Yes.
The Bride of Fire?
Bride of
Firesign?
Bride of
The Bride of
Firesign.
Firesign.
So we're on side 2, basically, even though it was a CD, side 2. And I said, "There's no music here. We have to have music." And I said, "Well, here's what I think we should do. Why don't we have one of those buddy songs? You ba doo ba doo ba doo and I do ba doo ba doo ba doo and we do ba doo ba doo. That kind of buddy song." And Austin kind of got a glint in his eye, and Procter, and it would be for Procter and Bergman. See, I mean, because he was playing the Rocky Rococo character, whoever it is. He's playing the bad guy, Mayor.
Bergman was the mayor. Bergman was the mayor. I wasn't the mayor.
Who are you playing? It's the bad guy. Oh, he's playing the mayor, and you're playing the guy, the gangster who is going to be the mayor.
The Rocky Rococo character.
Yeah, the Rocky Rococo
Right,
character.
buying my way into the mayoralty. Right.
And they turned around and wrote this very funny buddy song, which doesn't, out of the blue, essentially, because we needed it. It was like we've done so many shows, man. This was like opening, Hey, we got to have a song for the second act. Where's the closer? Oh my God. I remember when Bergman was the closer. Bergman was so sick. He was so terribly sick. This was on the previous Rhino album. They're all gone.
Okay, wait a minute.
I wanted
Boom dot bust.
So on Boom Dot Bus.
We did four albums for Rhino Records after our Columbia contract.
Yeah, five really. Five really.
Five?
Yeah, they were very good to us.
Yes, they were.
Rhino. And on
Richard
that,
Foose and what's his name? Never mind.
same thing on that album, where we had material moved around a lot as we were creating it. A commercial, no, it doesn't belong here, it belongs there. We ended up right at the beginning with this very funny song that was the sales song for not for Elmertown, but for Billville.
A promotional
A
song.
little promotional
For the town.
video, you would think, for town.
Yeah.
And it was all about the Middle West. We'd never written anything about the Middle West.
Where I come from.
Yeah, I mean, it was good to be there. And we played endlessly in the Middle West. I love, very happy.
Great audience.
Very happy, great audiences. And Peter got sick during the making of that album. And we
Lost his voice.
He lost his voice, and he had hives. He was really sick, and he was going through a horrible divorce. It was just the worst.
And he wasn't even married.
That's right. He wasn't. It was really
the worst
horrible.
kind of divorce.
Yeah. So he wasn't there for the end, and we did this great scene in the fishing boats. We're out there, and Austin is covering this completely. He knows all about fishing. And so he kind of set us up with this, and we're catching fish and collecting them. Oh yeah, it's like he watches these shows on television. Nobody else but Austin would watch how to fish show. Well, how do you raise these gracks and put them in your toilet, and they love to swim around there, not using it. I mean, it's just crazy that at the end, Austin, so off the wall. Just amazing at the end. Those recipes, he would do these school lunch recipes on the floor. And we'd do them 10 times and still be laughing our way through them. Very funny. And so we needed a song. What are we going to do? It's Billville. So he writes this song. And did we have any other musicians in it? I don't think so. Well, and Phil played the violin for the Sherlock Holmes character, Hemlock Stones.
Oh, we've gone on now.
Yeah, well, you're talking about music for the group. It was always music. Yeah, why not? And my gosh,
Sure.
in Fighting Clowns, it was a song, a sketch, a song, a sketch. That was the structure of that.
That was
half
our
of the
most
show.
musical album.
Yeah.
And in many ways, most predictive. Because on the cover, which was done by the late, great Phil Hartman, there is among other things hidden in the cover, is the White House with a boxing match going on in front of it.
Just amazing.
Sound familiar?
Talk about Firesign being recognized now. Prescient. People were posting this immediately.
Yeah.
That they knew the album, they knew the image, and it was online. And people said, Tom Hartman? That Tom Hartman? Yeah, that was our cover.
Phil Hartman.
I mean,
not
Phil
Tom Hartman.
Tom Hartman, God bless
Tom Hartman is a good friend of ours.
Yeah, he's another one.
He'll be
Phil,
on the next cover.
Phil, he'll do the next cover.
Tom
Right,
Hartman
Phil.
used the theme from Everything You Know Is Wrong as a running feature on his show for years.
Yeah.
I used it as the title for an occupational health and safety presentation.
The da 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 by the Portsmouth Sinfonia, which was an orchestra made up entirely of amateurs over in England.
That's the opening of...
Thus spake Zarathustra. If you can say that, then you know.
Not Daffy Duck.
Not Daffy Duck.
Yeah, that's the... essentially, the opening of Everything You Know Is Wrong is the Portsmouth Sinfonia. Thank you for the use of the record. Jim.
Yes.
That
And
version
they're
of it-
over there saying, well, we didn't give them the usage of that record. Yeah, how can we get in touch with their lawyer? You know,
all the-
no,
all the-
their solicitor.
we figured since it was amateurs. I've always explained this throughout my entire career by saying we're collage artists.
That's good.
We take something from here and we paste. If we pasted, we're pasting these things together. And we never really did ever what Saturday Night Live does, which is actually parody an actual product.
Yeah, skit comedy and parody of
Yeah,
actual product.
we never did that.
No.
We would surrealize the product, make
Yeah.
it crazy.
But I thought of us as being comedians, because we would go inside the media and really discombobulate it, tear it apart and put it together in other ways. And from my perspective, what we were trying to do was to undo the brainwashing of commercialism. All right, what do they call that when you undo mind?
You just said it. You undo the frame of mind that won't accept a new idea.
Yeah,
That doesn't know any old ideas. What's missing right now? Nobody
deprogram.
deprogram.
That's
Okay,
the word. I always
deprogrammed.
felt we were deprogramming.
Yeah.
Return for regrooving.
Yeah, return for regrooving. Yes, we were
Yes.
trying to deprogram people from the thrall of commercialism, which does a thing to your mind that allows you to be susceptible to political ideas that aren't necessarily good for you. You know, and the main question we always asked was, what is reality?
Yeah.
What is your reality? What is your perception of things?
So after 6 decades, do you have an answer to that question?
Yes. Me.
Clearly, nothing.
Nothing is real.
Nothing.
Strawberry Fields.
No, nothing is real. Strawberry Fields. No, nothing is real. We have a very clever brain that allows us to interpret a bunch of light waves and other amazing articles that we can't see, but we can see green and red and hard and I mean all this stuff. But it's only our brains that are doing that. Otherwise, it simply doesn't exist.
Energy.
It's just energy.
Energy.
Yeah, and some people are able to break free of that and become rainbows, as Preston would like to say. There's Preston right there, and his girlfriend. Yeah, don't you think? I mean, look, I'm 90 years old. You know, I'm fragmenting. All these things are kind of being so aware of themselves. You feel in the same place. Your body becomes aware of itself.
We're decomposing
Yeah,
in a way.
decides so it's closer to not taking everything as something which is hard and real and unovercomable
And serious.
and serious and really serious. Yeah. So
That's the liberation.
yeah, and it doesn't matter how you let go of that. And the Fire Sign did play with that idea of letting go, let go of the reality of the moment, let go of the way you're thinking, let go of what you thought you heard, and now just let go and have a good time. Just let go and have some fun. And
Cut the soles off your shoes, learn to play the flute, and live in a tree.
live in a tree and learn to play the flute. That's what Porgy Tirebiter decided he would like to do. It's just freedom.
And what Bergman's character, Porgy, decided to do was to find a bunch of guys who dress alike and follow them around.
Yeah, Mudhead.
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 Oh, Mudhead. There was Mudhead.
Yeah, Mudhead. Mudhead, who, that album took a long time. The thing about
We're talking about, I'm sorry, we keep talking about these albums. This is Don't Crush That Dwarf, Hand Me the Pliers that we're talking about,
Yeah.
which is a high school based movie fantasy, basically, from the perspective of an older actor who was in the movie watching himself late at night, isolated in his little home.
we discovered this on side 2. The thing about the Fire Sign Theater's albums back in the old LP days is you had to get through the hole in the middle. That was
Right.
that was really a problem for us because it was like, well, we got these characters. How are they going to get to the other side? And if that album, they literally go through the hole in the album and find themselves on the other side, which is Communist Martyrs High School, which is the other side, which is now contains their high school.
Yeah, what if the communists had taken over America in a funny, subtle way? That's what it's kind of about, you know.
Golly.
And
says
everything is
Forgy.
very autocratic. Very autocratic. There's a trial scene, and if people are in jeopardy and danger, you know, it's not similar to what's happening to us now.
Yeah, but it's always similar to what's happening, and it was that we just simply borrowed a couple of great movie series ideas. Mickey Rooney, of course, of the Hardy Boys, but also much more at the B movie level. You know, in which, and I remember saying this, I said, guys, there's always a breakfast scene. Oh, right, let's write the breakfast scene. There's always, okay, guys, there's always a trial scene. Oh, right, let's write the trial scene.
There's always a war scene.
There's always a, there's always a battle scene.
Battle scene in the movie.
So we hit those and found that there was a connection.
And we were kind of inventing channel switching.
Oh, we did.
Because that was,
clearly, yeah, we
right, that was what the joke was. You could go from one place to another, and the story continued.
Yeah, yeah, and
because our character was in all of these movies.
for the writers, it was made it very easy for the writers because they never had to end anything with it.
That's right.
Channel switch. Well, wait a minute, guys. Then what happened? You know, and you're on a commercial.
A little bit like some of the Saturday Night Live skits. Like what?
Saturday Night Live started 10 years after we did all this stuff.
We inspired all kinds of
Everybody
comedy.
started after all the Brits. Everybody, only the Goon Show preceded us in doing this kind of thing. And the Goon Show was an inspiration because the Brits were funny. That show was completely surreal. With sound effects all over the place. You know, just crazy.
Totally surreal.
And only three guys doing all the voices.
Wacky voices.
Peter Sellers doing most of the voices.
Yeah, that's right.
That's where I got the original old man voice was Peter Sellers' voice. And we also got Hindu.
Oh, the Indian character.
Yeah, he was
is
very, very fun.
Oh, very funny.
Very fun.
Blue Bottle.
Yeah,
That's a wonderful character.
Yeah, blue above. He's folding.
So we had that in common when we met on the radio and started improvising together. But
Yeah. I know all these people who were influences on you. Who would you say you know for sure were influenced by Firesign Theater who were performing comedy today?
John Goodman.
John Goodman.
Absolutely. I mean, he was doing radio comedy. Yeah, absolutely.
Jerry Stiller. Ben Stiller. What's the boy's name? What? Ben Stiller. He said he was a Firesign fan.
Yeah.
What's his name? Seinfeld. Jerry Seinfeld. I mean, you scratch the surface of almost any comedian, and Firesign was part of the influence.
Penn Jillette, I think you said.
Penn Jillette used to follow Procter and Bergman around to all our performances, and was a huge Firesign fellow. He's a big guy. So, but yes, and I mean that's wonderful. It's wonderful that we inspired all these people. But on the other hand, that's why we need a documentary, because a lot of people don't know who we are. We reached a certain cultural element in society at a time of great tumult and change, and we helped, in a way, people through that change in, I think, a healthy way, by showing them that they didn't have to take things so seriously, and that some of the stuff that they were thinking wasn't really crazy about what was going on. Because it really was crazy and dangerous and stupid. And
it was affirmative.
Our comedy was very affirmative.
Affirmative to that generation. And we characterized it as somebody, usually a guy, because we had so many men as our boys, as our audience, born in 1950. So they were going through 1955, right in there.
Yeah.
And so they would be in high school, or graduating from high school, or just in college, or just in the army. Crucial times in kids' lives, certainly in the boys' lives who were up to being drafted and all of that. What's to laugh about?
Beat the Reaper.
And an instant laugh, okay? And
because of the draft.
Peter, who grew up in Cleveland and did all of the black comedy essentially for the Firesign Theater, because he really knew that
black culture.
that Cleveland culture, and he, as a character in our second album, Side 2, How Can You Be in Two Places at Once, becomes a black soldier, just out of nowhere.
That's right.
Yes, ma'am. What can I do for you now? And then Phil goes on and sings, "We're bringing the war back home."
We're not so been before.
I mean, it was that was a real tear 'em up kind of thing to do.
And bringing the war back home is what happened during the Vietnamese War.
Yep.
Because all of a sudden it was televised.
Yep.
It was
Yep.
I mean, Korean War was televised, but only kind of, as I remember growing up, in the newsreel type
This was
things
Walter Cronkite
on television.
Yeah. All
But
those
this
guys.
was live. I mean, relatively speaking,
Yeah.
live war on television. And that's never changed. It's going on right now. It's going on even faster now than it did then. It's like every hour, what is going on in Iran?
Oh, yeah.
Every hour.
Excuse me, I have to check the news.
Yes, check the news.
I haven't checked it since 4:00. Oh my gosh.
And I know
Who's bombing whom?
I've played some of the 45s of Firesign Theater that deal with the fighting clowns and bring the war back home. And, you know, I'm playing them now on public radio, and they're resonating with the audience.
This bus won't go to war.
Yeah.
That song. for
Yeah.
instance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I wanted, maybe this will be kind of the closing question
so.
here, is Firesign Theater had its genesis in public radio.
Yep.
You were on KPFK before you started recording albums. That was your springboard for live performances and eventually getting a contract with Columbia.
That's right.
And we are at a precipice now where public radio is really being threatened, not only by cuts to funding, but by potential censorship from the FCC. You know, thinking back on the genesis again of Firesign Theater at KPFK back during the anti-war years in the 60s, you know, what are the lessons to be learned there in terms of the need to preserve public radio?
Well, I think there's a real threat to public radio beyond the government, and that's podcasting. That's basically the new form of radio, political radio anyway, and it's so much more influential than a liberal station that's still on the air like KPFK in Los Angeles, WBI in New York. So I think we're threatened by, what's the word, redundancy. See, the government uses redundancies like, well, you don't need that anymore. We got 1,000 stations.
Yeah.
You don't need a community-based station that's talking about, you know, how to make life better for people in their neighborhood. You know, and that's what public radio is. That's the essence of the heart of public radio, which is that it's for us, it's for the public, it's for you. It's to deal with. It's local, and radio binds people together that way. And if you take that away, you're losing a voice of the people again. You're losing some freedom of speech. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, well, yes. And we did start on KPFK, and KPFK was at that time called a listener-sponsored station. It was not connected with, there was no
Still
National
is.
Public Radio.
Listener supported.
Yeah. And National Public Radio started, let's see, in the early 70s. So I started working for KPFK in 61, and we were on the air there in 66. It nurtured outside talent. For a long time, when I worked there, it had a big creative staff, much modeled on the BBC, because there wasn't, who knew how to be a features producer? There was no such thing in American broadcasting. So we learned how to do that, how to make documentaries and cut tape and, put these things together. Lay music under, hey. You know, all those really good things that made the show good. And that kind of faded out when radio became more a DJ centered. So this is my hour or my 2 hours. I'm going to play Zambezi music here, and we're going to play, and that kind of radio is Either you don't like what's going on, or you just keep it on, but you don't really listen to it. Unless we have a station here, we're listening to it the other day, where the guy is really telling you something. Mm-hmm. Now there's music running behind, and it's not necessarily what you listen to, but he knows what he's talking about. Mm-hmm. And that, for my ear, that's radio. He knows what he's talking about. He's telling me something. He's not just saying, and next, because that's the weakest kind of program. But going back to 1970, when we were doing 69, 68, when we were doing our KPFK shows, literally the agreement was we aren't going to talk to each other or show anything or discuss. We're going to go in, sit down, lights on, go. And the live Earl Jive, who was sitting there running, and
our engineer.
He'd run records under, and we'd have to change immediately.
Yeah, he'd run a sound effects record under, and we'd have to suddenly be wherever that took us.
Yeah. It was, nobody did that.
Totally free-form comedy.
And it would not have been allowed. Because you would have had to show your script. You couldn't do that. And literally we were the first people just to go in a studio, not with written material, but just improv.
And we couldn't do that on television.
No.
And also we did do stuff on NPR. The Firesign Theater did a campoon, a political campoon.
Well, they covered the 76, they covered the 80, and then in 92, I guess, when the next election cycle, we
did a lot of
we did a lot with NPR, because they were very open to us at a time, and then not to us, and then open to us again. In the 80s they went and broke. And remember who the awful people were they had to interview? And it's like interviewing these guys now. Would you really want to sit in the studio? So and that's all they were, because they didn't have any money. And then they got that huge grant, and then they had reporters everywhere. It was all a whole new building and a whole new thing.
It was unbiased, basically. It wasn't really liberal. Liberal just means you're looking at every aspect of everything. There's no restrictions of it. Oh, no, you can't look over there. No, that's too leftist. And over there, oh God, that's really right. Let's go over there.
And, it was before the era of alternative facts.
Before the era of what?
We offered alternative facts all the time. That was part of our act.
Part of our comedy was alternative facts.
Yeah, alternative facts were us.
So you anticipated Kellyanne Conway.
Oh, nobody anticipated that. No, if only Bergman were. He could do her. Don't you think Pete could do her? Just so silly with a wig on. This has been really wonderful, and I hope it sizzles.
Well, thank you all, and
I hope so. It helps.
Watch the Firesign Theater documentary. Fund the Firesign Theater documentary.
Fund it.
Coming soon to a brainwave near you.